Let's join Heather and special education teacher and aspiring BCBA Cass O'Hara from our district partner, the Academies of South Bend, as they talk about this week's high leverage practice.
Welcome to Little Bits of TLC, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of education. Join our host, Heather Volchko, as this season we focus on high leverage practices, HLPs. Each episode will examine a different HLP, essential strategies designed to enhance teaching and improve outcomes across various educational settings. These practices focus on collaboration, assessment, social, emotional, behavioral support, and instruction, benefiting all K-12 students. I hope you're ready to be both challenged and inspired, because this season is all about mastering the HLPs. This is Little Bits of TLC. Looking to become an RBT in a school setting? Or just want training that actually fits the work you do every day? Our school-based RBT 40-hour training was built just for that. This course meets the 2026 training requirements and was created by real school-based specialists who know what the job actually looks like. It's engaging, up-to-date, and grounded in the classroom, not a clinic. With cross-training connections for para-educators and study tools to help you pass your exam with confidence, this training goes way beyond checking a box. Led by Heather Volchko, Candace McCoy, and Manny Wasius, and featuring Dr. Richard Van Acker, it's the first course of its kind that we know of, and we're proud of that. Head to university.thresholdlearning.org to enroll and get started. Let us teach you the basics, get you thriving, and move you onward through your journey to becoming an RBT today.
Provide positive and constructive feedback to guide students' learning and behavior. The purpose of feedback is to guide student learning and behavior and increase student motivation, engagement, and independence, leading to improved student learning and behavior. Effective feedback must be strategically delivered and goal-directed. Feedback is most effective when the learner has a goal and the feedback informs the learner regarding areas needing improvement and ways to improve performance. Feedback may be verbal, nonverbal, or written, and should be timely, contingent, genuine, meaningful, age-appropriate, and at rates commensurate with task and phase of learning. For example, acquisition, fluency, and maintenance. Teachers should provide ongoing feedback until learners reach their established learning goals.
This week, we're talking about high leverage practice number 8, providing positive and constructive feedback to guide students' behavior. And this week, I've got Cass with me. So, Cass, I have seen you do this so fluently in so many different ways in your practice. What does this look like?
I think it's such a pivotal part of everything that we do, and it's woven in absolutely any task that we can come up with. I'm not just talking about our students. I'm also talking about our staffs, the people that are just around us, our colleagues, everyone. Because in everything that I say and everything that I do, when I step into that space, so for me, it's my classroom, but it's not just a classroom, it's the hallways. It's the moment I walk through that door. Sometimes before I even walk in the door, I'm met with parents and students alike. And it's about how I carry myself. And those students are watching me, right? So not only am I providing that positive feedback and constructive feedback to these people in all settings, I'm also modeling that behavior for my students as well. So this is something that is so foundational to everything that we do. If we can create a community and an environment where it's not scary and it's not hard to hear not only the kind of tough stuff or the stuff we got to work on, but also the good stuff too. And I think often we're so focused on what can we fix? What can we fix? Here, you need to change this. You need to grow here, which is very important information. It's also really, really, really important to set aside separate time to make sure that we're saying, hey, I also see you. I see that you led with kindness today. I saw that you took your time and you were patient with a friend that was having a hard time communicating. That's awesome. And for me in practice, that means pulling my student aside, maybe pausing my lesson and having a very one-on-one moment. Sometimes I'm praising them in front of the group. It just kind of depends on the person and how they prefer to be received or to be noticed. And I may pull them aside and say, hey, I know that you've been having a tough time, but I want you to know that I also recognize that you really did some really awesome things today too. Maybe we didn't meet our goals that day, but that doesn't mean that we don't also recognize the really wonderful progress that we did make, or maybe we're using coping skills that we didn't use before. So there's so many opportunities and so many variations that you can approach this. I know we're going to dive in further, but for me, it has to show up in every single moment of my day so that my students see that I'm recognizing my staff, so that my students see that it's okay to say, hey, I was thinking something really nice about you. I'm going to say it out loud and I'm going to leave it there. But they're also seeing, hey, here's how I communicate when, hey, my boundaries are crossed. Hey, I want to let you know you crossed my boundary that I set for you. And I would appreciate if you could respect that in the future. So even simple moments like that, we're demonstrating it's okay to make mistakes. You're still loved, you're still wonderful, but it's really important that you do clear this up. And for us, that helps our community. It helps us support not only our students, but our students support each other. And getting to see that, getting to see a student say, hey, I'm going to give you grace because I've been given grace. And I've been taught how to do that by someone just simply modeling it. So, hey, I'm going to give you grace. I'm not usually that kind of guy, but today you've got it. We're going to hype him up too. And so recognizing those things and seeing that can weave this community and this feeling of where everyone's going to belong, even if you sometimes mess up. And that's been huge for us. I think in some ways that can go different directions and be challenging, especially with our students with those emotional and behavioral disabilities. It's hard sometimes, especially if they've gone a couple months where every single day it's a battle to get them to show up for themselves. And that can be, I think, one of the main challenges or what kind of stops people from remembering that and getting back on track to lead their students that way.
Thank you so much for recognizing that this is not just what we do with our students, but it's who we are. Like, if we are not embodying this practice all day, every day in any of those interactions, that it's just how we interact to our core, it's fake, it's half-hearted, right? Like, and it doesn't land. It doesn't land and stick nearly as much as when we're just doing it naturally because that's who we are and how we engage. We're then showing like, oh, that's just how humans engage, as opposed to, oh, that's what my teacher tells me when they want this or when they think that, right? Like there's no contingencies here. We're just getting to be humans together. So I'm curious when you're doing this, there's gotta be like, I've watched it in your student population, right? Like motivation, engagement, independence, right? There's so many cool things that come from just acknowledging the behavioral sides in that positive and constructive way. Can you share a little bit more about that?
So, motivation, I heard you say that. That's going to be kind of the direction I'm going to head with this because that is key. And it has to start from day one. So, a lot of people believe that it's about, well, me as a teacher and the head of the classroom, I have to make sure that all my students like me. Right? Sure, to some degree, that's important. But that doesn't automatically connect you with motivation to want them to want to follow what I'm doing. That doesn't necessarily do that. So, when a lot of teachers think that, oh, I'm prepping for the school year, here are my rules. We're going to go over our rules the first day. We're going to keep doing that. And even in best practice, that may not land, especially for these students. Because again, these are probably similar rules. Okay, here are the laws. We've written them for you. You've no say. You have no choice. You can't even choose vocabulary on how these rules are written, right? So, something that I do in my classroom is that I keep them a part of that, right? In any way that we can give these students choice, we've got to do that. And so if I can give them choice on what their rules look like, and I know on the receiving end, this sounds absolutely bonkers, but hear me out. I do this with every year. The beginning of the year, I have my students close their eyes and I say, I want you to imagine your favorite person in your life that you see regularly. Who is the best person that you know? Because for them, that is immediately intrinsic. That is something that is already reinforced, already established within them. I don't have to establish that yet for them to want to follow rules. So then we say, okay, now we're each going to open our eyes and share what is it that about that one person that we believe makes them the greatest person we know. And so if we can create a rule off of that or core values for our classroom to be a good human, that is our goal. Our goal is to not get stuck here and have a safe place of just to be ourselves. And that's all we can do, which is beautiful. It is. But our goal is that when they leave my space, that they can go out and they can be good humans and be proud of the humans that they are. Now, that right there is going to motivate them to do it. Well, if I can be like my uncle, oh my God, okay, this teacher's going to help me do. Okay, all right. So now we've created an emotional connection that is automatically reinforcing. We have also established rules that they had a say in, which is automatically motivating. And so all of this kind of creates this little storm inside of them and a little fire that says, you know what? Everyone has told me that, oh, I deserve to be in this room. I deserve to be self contained. I deserve to have kind of the worst. I've done this to myself. Well, what have you done? But identified you need a little help. So let's get you there. If you want to be a good person, I can't imagine looking back and saying, I don't want to be a good person. And most of my students, once they truly, truly admit it, and it doesn't take long, I do. I want people to walk away and say, I really enjoyed being around you. And so let's do that. Let's set that up for you. And their favorite things can come up with 5 rules. That's where we start. Okay, we'll identify those and we'll keep pushing. And these students are so motivated to be good humans and believe that they truly can. And they have this fire relit in them. Well, I know somebody who's a good human. I could do that. I could do that. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be you. It doesn't have to be someone you know. But as long as it is someone important to them, that's all that matters. Identifying that is has to be step one. But from there, you have to layer in all of those other motivating things. Those are going to be a lot more specific to each student, but making sure that you take the time to do that and motivate them and remind them. Think, gosh, think of your worst day. You dropped this and you dropped that. You get the case of the dropsies, right? Man, by the fifth thing that you drop in 30 minutes, you're going to be like, what the heck is going on? I'm feeling a little low. I'm feeling a little discouraged. Imagine being in school. Gosh, in grade school even, middle school then, right? How many years has it been that people have reminded you of all the things you've done wrong and forgotten all the wonderful things that you've done, or even the steps towards progress that you've made? It's that every single day for them. It's the case of the dropsies. So if you can be the person that says, hey, I noticed that you picked it up and you were mad about it. It's awesome. Good for you. Let's keep moving in that direction. We don't have to wait until they reach that goal to reinforce them. It doesn't have to be end game. They don't have to have perfect behavior before we start reinforcing them. It has to be, I see you. I see you. I see you. You can do better. You got this. You did better yesterday. Come on, let's get back on it. I see you. Those moments of I see you are some of the most intrinsically valuable things to motivate them to keep moving forward and creating that connection between you and them. That is hard. That is what stops us, right? Is that I am tired, right? We are tired with a classroom full of those. And to notice that, or you're having a bad day because you're human too. But taking that moment to set that aside and remember that that child is also experiencing their own day. And if you're going to take that moment, man, I could use some reinforcement right now. Could you imagine how much reinforcement he probably needs to? So just remembering those sort of things and continuing to layer, continuing to dig deep and find what matters most to that student is going to help you create an environment that's like, oh, I want to be here. I want to hit that goal. I want to go out and be that good human. It's been pivotal for a lot of my students.
I am so appreciative how you are just straight up calling out all of this deficit thinking, right? Like, it doesn't matter if you struggle because there can still be progress, right?
Yeah.
Like, it just, you're so unashamed in how you're just like, yeah, sure, they're here for a reason, but so are we, right? Like, so let's do something with it. I think before we sign off today, let's get kind of practical.
Okay.
So when you're looking at, providing that constructive feedback specifically around behavior and it's in that positive way, let's walk through some examples of like, what is it? What is it not? Because I know I have definitely worked with staff that are, providing maybe somewhat condescending feedback, but they're smiling and they're so nice and how they're doing it. And it's like, yeah, you might be sort of positive, but that's not actually positive or constructive. So, like, walk me through in your practice, what are some of those examples of things that you're like, yup, this really hits the mark? And maybe a couple of examples where you're like, either I tried that, didn't work, or like, this doesn't actually meet the criteria for this high leverage practice.
Okay. Well, I am no perfect person. I'll never claim to be. And so there have been moments where I've misstepped too. It's easy to do. And like I said, I mean, life's happening to us also. And so I think before I dive into those examples, I want to make sure that as I recognize the deficits and the hard parts of it, I want to also recognize that taking that time to recognize when you're not level, when you're not regulated, right? So that you can give that feedback without the condescending, that you can give well thought out, true feedback that doesn't feel backhanded, that doesn't feel icky or feel hard. Where you're like, well, that wasn't how I meant it, but that's how it came. We can clear all that up by making sure that we are prepared, right? And so again, When we recognize those deficits, recognize that when you are ready to give that feedback, because we do want it to be really, really, really touching and constructive, right? We want to reach that student and make that connection and not be throwing out the same feedback every single day. So, some of the ways that it has been really, really, really beneficial is getting the full picture of that student. So when I recognize that this student's behavior is starting to instigate, right? I'm going to give a little bit of example of a specific student I had, and a new friend. He's been in my classroom for some time, and he is very passionate, very loyal, just loves justice. He's a beautiful human, has an incredible heart, and when he loves hard. But we also deal with a lot of stuff at home that has given us some examples of relationships that maybe aren't super healthy. And so he has not learned that structure yet. Okay. So keep those things in mind. This student would get combative when other students wanted to be friends with our new friend. And he would argue or he would instigate and he would start things out of nothing, right? Well, I'm not going to be your friend. I'm not going to be this or that. And so time and time again, I would be like, okay, well, then you can't play with them. If you can't be nice, we can't play. All right. Oh my gosh, the behavior kept happening. And so I'm like, okay, well, he's not getting that contingency. If I can't be nice, then I can't play. He's not understanding that. So there's something deeper here. So understanding that full picture, understanding what his background was, I pulled him aside and I said, hey, it's okay if you share your friends. That doesn't make them any less your friend. And for a moment, that didn't make sense to him. That didn't compute. And I kind of broke it down like this. And I said, and this is a one-on-one conversation. This kind of feedback, you're not going to give in front of anybody else. This is going to be you and that student. And so he took some quiet time. I let him think. And I said, you don't have to work so hard to be loved. They all love you in there. And here, you're safe to be you. And to know that even if that new student chooses to play with that other kid, you still matter to them too. He just kind of washed over in tears. It was a real, I think, a new leaf for him where he turned it over. And even that day he went in there and he said that to the student, hey, I'm really sorry I said those things. I want you to be my friend. It's the opposite. I was just really having a hard time. And so to know that my student can not only receive that feedback, process it, and then go and then act on that feedback and clear up or correct those wrongs are completely embedded in what we do. And so he is going to get reinforced, not just one time, but several times along that way in multiple different sources, right? So we have classroom points and things like that, right? Because that's what he needs. Now I have other students, that new student didn't need all of those working wheels at the same time. And you're going to identify those things. And when you feel like something isn't clicking, it's not. You're either missing something or you're taking the wrong approach. And there have been times where I've called them out. Hey, you can't play. You can't be nice. You can't play. Right. And that didn't help. That made him feel more ostracized. And so understanding those inner workings and those layers, each specific to each student, right? Sometimes it comes from their story. That's going to really help you understand because, hey, I took his points away. Hey, I followed the same structure. We had the rules. We all agreed on this. This is part of the behavior plan. You know, I'm doing all the things, but maybe sometimes it's how you said it. Maybe sometimes you need to pull them aside so that they can put their pride aside as well. So it's those sort of things. And I think it's easy to hit that confrontation in a lot of people right away. Okay, well, I've addressed it, right? And I can move on to the next thing. There's another thing going on in this corner of the room. I need to deal with that. Or I'm teaching a lesson to a small group. Those sort of things. It's really easy to just like, I've said it, I've ended it. He needs to just listen, right? But then we keep hitting that same problem. Then we're not fixing that. And that's when we know that feedback is going to be a little bit off kilter, right? If he is walking away, great. But if the problem's still occurring, that means we're not getting to the problem. So we have to create that feedback in a space that makes sense and we have to adjust. And I think that's the big misstep is that we keep kind of hitting that wall and hitting our head, against that saying, oh, I keep doing it. I keep giving the feedback and nothing's changing. Well, that means that we have to change what we're doing.
Your example, yes, it's a verbal, example. Of course, there's nonverbal. I've seen you do
Absolutely.
Look out of the wing, the side of your face, those kinds of things where everybody
Yeah.
knows like, oh, okay, we're good. Right. But this example that you're walking through, it was timely, right? You caught it in that moment. Not every time we get that opportunity, but in this example, it was like you saw it, you took that opportunity. It was contingent. It was connected directly to the interactions that were going on with kind of an immediate opportunity to go try something different with it. It was purely genuine, right? Like the way you're walking your student through that is so human. And it's meaningful, right? It doesn't just have meaning in that moment or for that purpose or to make your life easier. It has meaning for that student, their life and their future relationships and their relational capacity. It was age appropriate. You met them exactly where they were at, right? And you walked them through it in a way that would make sense for them. And heck, you even called out like, and then we're going to do this and this other thing, and we're going to add in these other pieces, and that's not what everybody else needs. I mean, you literally just walked through this high leverage practice. We didn't even talk about that before recording this.
Oh,
But it
yes.
literally, like, checks all of the boxes. Like, that is such a beautiful example of how something that's just a teachable moment, right? Like, we just show up, we're humans together, we're just doing this thing, called education in our classrooms and in our spaces. And it just happens, right? So yes, there's these fancy high leverage practices with all these check boxes and these, strategies and criteria and all of these things. But so many of us are just showing up and doing our thing,
Yeah.
and it's actually catching.
You're doing more than you realize you're doing. And I think a lot of the times, like, especially with the way that we think as educators, right? We have to check all these boxes, right? We have to do this, and I have to make sure that this is posted, and I have to make sure that I'm communicating this, and I'm scaffolding, and I'm doing this, and on all these things. And while absolutely crucial, high leverage practices are with these students, I mean, with really all students, we have to remember too that you are in this space because you want to be, right? And because you're the right kind of person. And so remembering and identifying that these can happen, it's not just a box we check. And okay, we've done high leverage practice number 8 for today, and that is all you're going to get of me. We have 7 hours left, right? We can't do that. We have to embed it in what we do, but we also have to recognize that we're doing it. We're in there and we're doing it, and creating that kind of space and for just feedback alone is huge. It's absolutely huge. And if you can create that environment, you're doing this high leverage practice. You just have to recognize that you're doing it so you can continue it.
Well, thank you so much for joining me to have this conversation. Like I said, I knew you were the perfect person for this topic because this is just you to the core, which I'm sure our listeners can tell at this point. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I am happy to be here.
Working with students who need long-term individualized support? Project Base is a 4-strand project designed for educators in self-contained classrooms serving students with low incident needs. You'll get step-by-step guidance on building a program that focuses on communication, daily routines, and real-world skill building. From setting up the classroom environment to designing personalized plans, this course helps you create a space where your students can grow and succeed in school and into adulthood. Led by Chris Zielinski and Carly Dietz, Project Base offers practical strategies, case studies, and planning tools to help you confidently support your students every step of the way. If you're ready to strengthen your program and build something that lasts, this project is your next step. If you're supporting emotional or behavioral needs in general ed or resource classrooms, Project Thrive helps you keep learning on track. And if you're in a therapeutic or alternative setting, building something from the ground up, Project Onward offers the structure and tools to do it well. Head to university.thresholdlearning.org to meet your team and begin building your home base today.
Feedback is one of the most powerful tools in a teacher's arsenal, serving not just to correct mistakes, but to guide student learning and behavior in a way that boosts motivation, engagement, and independence. When done right, feedback can lead to remarkable improvements in both learning and behavior. But here's the key: it has to be strategic and goal directed. It's most effective when students have clear goals and the feedback they receive directly helps them understand where they need to improve and how to get there. Whether it's verbal, nonverbal, or written, feedback should always be timely, genuine, and meaningful, tailored to the student's age and the phase of learning they're in, whether they're just starting to grasp a new concept or refining a skill they've already learned. The goal is to keep providing feedback until the student achieves their learning objectives, ensuring they stay on track and continually progress. There's a widespread myth that high rates of positive reinforcement can somehow damage students' intrinsic motivation or that it simply doesn't work. In reality, positive reinforcement is all about ensuring that when a student's behavior is followed by a reward, something that matters to them, the behavior is more likely to be repeated. Just like with academic skills, to help students master social behaviors, teachers need to give specific, timely feedback. When students make errors in social behavior, it's crucial to guide them towards the right behavior by pointing out the social skill they should have used. For example, if a student displays appropriate social behavior, Feedback should not only acknowledge their effort, but also tie it back to classroom expectations. The notion that students should always be intrinsically motivated is a bit unrealistic. Intrinsic motivation happens when an activity is inherently rewarding, like playing a favorite game. However, many tasks, like writing reports or solving algebra problems, aren't naturally exciting. Instead, special educators should use rewards or recognition to encourage students. The goal is for students to engage in challenging tasks not because they find them intrinsically motivating, but because they understand that completing these tasks will lead to desirable outcomes, like extra free time or praise from parents. This approach helps students develop a self regulation and recognize the value of their efforts beyond immediate enjoyment. The high leverage practices, or HLPs, aim to identify essential techniques that are so crucial that every teacher should integrate them into their daily routines. While all 22 high leverage practices are valuable, some stand out for their foundational importance and their role in supporting other practices. One such practice is high leverage practice 8, providing positive and constructive feedback. This practice is so central that it appears in both the social, emotional, behavioral domain and the instruction domain. This dual presence underscores its fundamental role. Feedback is essential for both teaching and behavioral management. Effective teaching and behavior management cannot occur without quality feedback on student performance. It's through this feedback that students and educators gain vital insights into whether their performance meets expectations. Mastering the art of swiftly assessing student work, whether it's correct or incorrect, and delivering thoughtful, specific responses is a key skill for any teacher. This approach not only guides students toward improvement, but also ensures that both academic and behavioral standards are being met. When it comes to enhancing student behavioral outcomes through feedback, the approach a teacher takes can make all the difference. Effective feedback starts with positivity and specificity. For instance, saying, "Great job raising your hand and waiting to be called on," not only praises the behavior, but also clearly identifies what was done right. But feedback should also focus on the process rather than just the person. Instead of telling a student, "You are so smart," which centers on the individual, the emphasis should be on the effort and strategies used. For example, "You worked really hard on that math assignment and used excellent strategies to solve those problems," highlights the process and encourages continued effort. Instructive feedback is equally important. This means guiding students with specific information about what they did well or what needs improvement. For instance, if a student answers incorrectly about what sounds should be heard while lining up, a teacher might say, "We are quiet when we line up for recess to show respect for other classrooms." This helps reinforce the desired behavior and provides clear instructions. When addressing errors, corrective feedback is more effective than reprimands. Instead of simply saying, "Stop talking," which can feel punitive, a more constructive approach could be, "Remember, during independent reading time, we need to read quietly to ourselves and avoid talking to our neighbors." Feedback should be contingent on observing the target behavior. For example, praising students for their effective teamwork when they are actively participating in a group activity reinforces the behavior. It's crucial that feedback is timely, given close to the observed behavior to maximize its impact and help students integrate desired behaviors into their routines. Additionally, the tone of feedback matters. Sincerity is key. Avoiding sarcasm and jokes helps maintain a respectful and supportive environment. Tailoring feedback to accommodate students' ages, learning histories, cultural backgrounds, and preferences ensures it is received in the most constructive way. Lastly, as students progress through different learning phases, feedback should adapt accordingly. Whether they are just beginning to acquire new skills or working on maintaining and generalizing them, the type and frequency of feedback should match their current stage of learning to support their continued growth. To truly support teachers in mastering the art of effective feedback, school leaders need to take a proactive and hands on approach. Start by offering targeted instruction, professional development, and coaching focused on the different types of feedback and their applications. This training should empower teachers to use feedback effectively in diverse classroom situations. But supporting teachers goes beyond just providing resources and training. It's essential to model the feedback process by offering constructive feedback on their implementation practices. This not only enhances their ability to use feedback effectively, but also ensures that their approach is aligned with best practices. Another valuable strategy is to identify and leverage the expertise of those teachers who consistently excel at providing effective feedback. By integrating these skilled educators into peer coaching systems, you can create a culture of excellence and shared learning within your school. Furthermore, fostering a collaborative environment where teams and staff members set goals related to feedback use is crucial. Regular check ins and accountability measures can help sustain this focus and ensure that everyone is making progress towards more effective feedback practices. This ongoing support and collaboration will ultimately drive greater fidelity in feedback implementation and, in turn, enhance student outcomes. Confusion often surrounds terms like intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, reinforcement, rewards, and praise, sometimes intentionally by authors promoting specific theories, and other times unintentionally by educators trying to do their best. To effectively teach skills to mastery and ensure they are maintained and generalized beyond the school day, it's crucial to understand and apply specific positive feedback, along with corrective instructional feedback when mistakes happen. This straightforward but powerful approach is fundamental to both academic achievement and social success. By integrating precise feedback into the learning environment, educators can significantly enhance their students' ability to learn and apply new skills effectively. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Join us next week as Heather sits down with transition specialist Lindsay Palak-Shelton from our community partner, Future Social Learning and Transition Planning, to talk about our next high-leverage practice.
Hey, before you jump back into your busy life, consider dropping a like and follow @Threshold Learning TLC on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you like our show, share the podcast with your colleagues. A personal recommendation is by far the best way to promote the podcast. Let them know that they can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else that they catch their podcast. Just be sure to leave a rating and review on your favorite platform. You can email us at info@thresholdlearning.org. We always enjoy connecting with fellow educators and champions for educational justice. You can find everything you're looking for at thresholdlearning.org. See you there. Attention educators pursuing behavior analysis certification and universities preparing them for success. Supervision with TLC offers 100% remote fieldwork supervision designed specifically for school-based professionals. Educators can earn their hours right in their schools without leaving their classroom, all while being supported by experienced BCBAs who understand the realities of education. With month-to-month scheduling, affordable rates, and both live video and asynchronous chat, our fieldwork supervision model is designed to fit into your life, not the other way around. We also invite universities to enhance their graduate programs in partnership with our team of practicing school-based BCBAs. Our fieldwork supervision model keeps students on track for certification by helping them connect their practice to all exam domains so that they can confidently pass the exam. Explore more at university.thresholdlearning.org/supervision or email supervision@thresholdlearning.org to connect. Supervision with TLC, where educators grow into behavior analysts.